All right, it's time for this week's Mercy Health Meet the Doc. We're here at Fairfield Alumni Stadium. You can see the big Mercy Health sign, hopefully, in the background. They're one of the fine Mercy Health partner schools, athletic training services, and, of course, the head team physician, who is our doctor this week. This is Meet the Doc, and I'm going to start. I talked to Jason Krause, who's the Indians football coach, and I said, okay, give me that proper pronunciation. And he said, I call him either Doc or Doc A. So I'll allow you, Doc, to make sure we get it right. Please pronounce your name correctly.
You got it, Doc A or Dr. Almasri.
There we go.
That's it.
All right. So this is your first year at Fairfield. Talk a little bit about, I know it's, a lot of times you're a teacher or a coach at a new school. Mm-hmm. I got to believe for you, being the head team physician, you're at Deer Park last year, right?
Yep.
So new school, big school. What's it like that first year? Because you're getting to know coaches, you're getting to know student athletes, getting to know everything about the school, right?
Yeah, no, I think new school, big school, it's very exciting. That's probably number one feeling, and big sense of excitement, but also responsibility. And I certainly feel a quick connection with the athletes, the athletic trainers, and me having met Aaron Blankenship, the director, and the coaches really quickly allows that personal relationship to blossom. So excitement, responsibility, and I'm ready to be there for the athletes, the teams, and the families and everyone. So, yeah.
I got to ask you, do you ever say to yourself, okay, let's see, 2020 was full-on COVID.
Yep.
Everybody kind of thought this year might not be the same, but we're kind of back in those same scenarios. Mm-hmm. You ever say to yourself, man, am I ever going to get like a normal year to deal with the student athletes?
Yeah, honestly, I think my feeling is it's always going to get better, and we're somehow going to finally get over this pandemic. But yeah, I guess that's a new reality, and I think everyone's kind of trying to put out fires, enhance the pipe with respect to managing, the occasional positive cases. But I think sports ultimately will unify us, and just focusing on keeping the kids active and healthy and the families out there to enjoy watching their kids will get us through. So I think it'll be okay.
You brought up something interesting that I don't know that we've ever talked about on these segments, and that is kind of the relationship between the athletic trainers that Mercy Health provides for the schools and a head team physician.
Yep.
Talk, if you can, a little bit about how that relationship works, because they're dealing, too, with maybe different facets, and then they come to you when there's something that they need evaluated, something a little more serious. How does that relationship between the ATCs and a team physician work?
Yeah, I see them as really my eyes, ears, and hands on the field, I suppose, with the athletes. I almost always want to talk to them before I see my athletes, our athletes, to understand, well, hey, what's the latest? How are they feeling? They have that day-to-day connection, and certainly we like to have that connection with the athletes too, as the doctors.
Sure.
But I trust the athletic trainers. They know the athletes day in, day out. They know their family members, so they're a direct extension of what I do, and I think without them, really wouldn't be able to care for the athletes from a medical point of view. So I really do enjoy working with Deanna, Brad, and Ashley, and ultimately we form a really strong team. And they're really important for me. So.
All right, now this is that age part of the program where you're obviously much younger than me. Looks. I haven't seen your birth certificate, but I'm surmising you're younger.
Yeah.
So I'm going to test you. I understand as an orthopedic surgeon, your area of expertise is the hip.
Correct.
All right, so this is going to show how old I am and how young you are. One of the greatest hip moments, and that's maybe bad because it was a hip injury, in sport involved the Bengals making a rare tackle in a game. Do you remember Bo Jackson?
I do.
Okay, and you remember his hip injury caused by a tackle by the Bengals. Do you recall that?
I believe he dislocated his hip.
He did.
Correct.
Yeah. So talk about that. I mean, how, from a hip standpoint, so he's young, but he pays attention, see? Old timers remember that stuff because I remember watching it live.
Right.
But when you talk about hip injuries, certainly they're prevalent sometimes in football. What are those areas and how difficult is it? What can you do as an athlete when you're getting hit to kind of try and avoid serious hip injuries?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, when you look at hip injuries, they could either be an athletic hip disorder, or it could be a traumatic hip disorder, or a degenerative hip disorder. So in the case of Bo Jackson, sounded like a traumatic hip dislocation, not too different to almost like a car accident where you may hit your knee in the dashboard and have it pop out the back. So that's a out the back hip dislocation or posterior dislocation, which is the most common, 80%. And is there much you can do during the game to try to avoid that? Not much. It's a bit of bad luck. It's a bit of your hip being in the wrong position, so probably bent and rotated inwards, and anybody who's going to land on you is going to probably pop it out the back. Obviously, the stronger your core is, the stronger your hips are, or the more you're able to brace the opponent, you may diminish your likelihood of suffering that, but ultimately he was just unlucky. Other hip disorders could be more like a muscle pull, a strained tendon around the hip, And then ultimately, sometimes what we see is they end up being more of an underlying disorder where something is torn, like a labrum, not unlike an ACL tear in the knee or a labrum injury in the shoulder. And that may be something that we have to look at and see, does this need to be fixed, or is this something we have to manage with more of a rehab protocol?
How would you diagnose when I just try to get out of a chair and have pain in my hip? What would you call that? Just old and sad? I mean, is that kind of is that where I am in life? No, it's time. Look, it's time. I want to find out a little bit more about you. Sure. I got a couple questions here. So I understand you're from Canada.
You got it. You got it.
So now, were you ever a CFL, a Canadian Football League? I'm always curious. The rules are different. The field's different.
Yep.
If you're from Canada, do you follow the CFL?
You do. It's more of a kind of how do you say this? Sales are more at the gate, so you don't really watch it on TV. You try to go to the games, and I'm from Ottawa, the capital of Canada, so they had the Ottawa Red Blacks, who were kind of Grey Cup champions for 2-3 years on the trot. So it's more of a local thing where you got to go watch the game. You don't watch it on TV, but it's fun. It's fun. It gets cold. Trust me. Semifinals are right in the middle of November, December, so it's not uncommon to see some of the athletes playing right in the middle of the snowstorm almost. So
are you a Senators fan too?
Hockey fan. You got it. Senators.
Okay, you got to be a hockey fan in Canada.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're not being the head team physician here at Fairfield, what do you like to do? Hobbies? What are your things that when you're spending your free time, if you have any, what do you do?
Yeah, well, we got a little one at home, so it definitely keeps me occupied. He's 1.5 years old.
Oh boy.
Love staying active. I used to play a lot of soccer. I coach soccer. I played provincial soccer in Canada too, and certainly try to keep up with the FC Cincinnati and Major League Soccer and international soccer. So I'm a big soccer fan, and of course I'll keep an eye out for football and what else is going on. And but yeah, I like to stay active and bike and work out. So yeah.
You bring up something interesting too. It seems like a lot of physicians, they are active and they did play some sort of sport. Do you feel like, from your days of playing soccer, because you have aches and pains as an athlete just playing, do you feel like that maybe gives you a greater understanding when someone is injured, when somebody's having, because they always talk about there's a difference between when you're hurt and when you're injured. Does that help you being an athlete and doing those things to be able to treat student athletes?
100%, because you could relate to their frustration and their desire to kind of get back into the game. But then, you kind of think back to your own experience and you say, you know what, I got better just because I either waited or saw the right person. But I consider these athletes extremely lucky to have us around. We're lucky to be able to serve them and look after them too. But had I had an orthopedic surgeon look after me when I was 17, gosh, I probably would have taken care of my own hip problem 20 years ago. Just because 20 years ago we used to think, hey, listen, you pulled your hip, it's on your head, there's nothing wrong on your x-ray. So I'd say it goes both ways, but certainly having been a soccer player, I get what it's about. I get what these athletes want to do, and I'm there for them. So, yep.
Oh, how times have changed over the years, right? Now, I'm going to toss you a little curveball here.
Sure.
So you're not from Cincinnati. This usually brings a different answer.
Sure.
So the game Friday night is Oak Hills at Fairfield. It's part of the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown presented by Mercy Health Orthopaedics and Sports Medicine and Meyer. So, Skyline Chili.
Okay.
Have you been?
I haven't officially been. I tried to have Lisa kind of tell me what I should eat from Skyline Chili, but I have not officially been. Can you believe it?
We're going to hook you up.
You going to hook me up?
So what did Lisa tell you when you go to Skyline? What did she recommend? Because it's funny, when people aren't from Cincinnati, it's Cincinnati-style chili, which is really unique. And so I'm just curious, what did Lisa, and we're referencing Lisa Sweeterman, who's the Director of Athletic Partnerships. And so what'd she tell you? Curious.
Was it just the classic triple? Is that what it's
Three-way.
called? Three-way.
Three-way, okay.
Three-way triple.
So here's what we're going to make sure of.
Tell me.
Here Friday night, I'm going to give you a Skyline Chili gift card. You got to take the family.
I'll take it. I'll take them.
And we'll see what we'll see. And they've got stuff for men, for women too, who like the wraps and salads and all that. So that's the misnomer. They've got a lot of great stuff.
Okay.
If you like fries, I'm not going to lie. I'm a buffalo chicken wrap. But anyway, so there you go.
Done.
So this has been Mercy Health Meet the Doc. Doc, it's a pleasure meeting you. I would
Thanks,
say
Tom.
that you look like you're having a great time taking care of the student athletes here at Fairfield High School. And wave and say hi to the Doc on Friday at the sidelines. It'll be Oak Hills and Fairfield in the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown. And this has been Mercy Health Meet the Doc.